All right, welcome to another episode of Mike Sports. I'm Eric, joined as always by Landry. How you doing tonight?
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, we got a big show to talk about. I know you're wearing your University of Houston hat in honor. This Saturday, college football kicks off. That's right, guys. This Saturday, we have real football that counts.
Yeah, real football, exactly.
And I got to be like, first off, before we get into everything with the National Football League, I got a quick question to ask you.
Go for it.
You cool? What is your take as a Cowboys?
I haven't seen him in a while. I'm starting to forget what he looks like.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I picture like it's some kind of half person, half Ewok.
Or like a centaur or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe. Folklore. Oh, yeah. I mean, his name is Zeke.
Right.
You know.
So that'd be awesome if he was some kind of centaur, just running through with.
Well, he already runs like he's a freaking centaur.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking to somebody. I think, after watching film, Zeke has this weird ability right before he gets to the ground. He like hovers for like a yard. It's really odd if you watch him.
It's like he floats above.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I figured it out. This dude ain't human. That's why he's so freaking good. This is all telepathic and energy and whatnot. And
well, then I would think that would be reason enough for the Cowboys to sign him, because if he's not human, then he's not subject to the same physical rules that he will inevitably crash and burn at 30 years old.
Yeah, so I did on my numbers. Let me get my little calculator here. I came up with, I think Dak should get $29 million. That's what I think.
Okay.
That's what I think he's worth, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
According to market and talent, all comboed. I would give Zeke $13 million. Okay. I'd give Randy Gregory $130 million a year.
Oh, obviously.
Maybe
bring Greg Hardy back and,
I forgot about that cat. See, he must be holding out on us too. I haven't seen him forever.
I think he's held up in a hotel or a bank somewhere, with his guns all laid out, asking people which one he wants them to shoot him with.
Yeah, no, he's got something. He's sitting out there basically going, yeah, he's got his guns and stuff, and he's sitting out there all on a bed and stuff going, oh, I'm just holding on to these in case they don't give me the contract that I want.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good negotiating.
Exactly. He's got a completely different
attitude. Give me what I want contractually, or I blow your head off.
Yeah, he's got basically what we call the Texan attitude. Oh, hey, speaking of which.
Yeah.
We got the Roughnecks for the XFL team for Houston.
Yeah, I heard about that.
My vote was, so you got to vote. I voted the Gamblers.
I think that would have been a good name, yeah. That sounds like an XFL name.
Yeah.
Now, are you excited? Are you going to, when XFL comes around, what is it, next February or March, are you going to go watch?
Absolutely not.
Are you going to watch it on your TV
no
at all?
Interest. No interest at all. Yeah. Zero. Now, if they sign one of the greatest players I've ever seen, Colin Kaepernick, just kidding. But if they sign someone legit, on Houston's roster, I might go check out a game or two.
Now, it's funny with the injury to Cody Kessler, that the Eagles' backup quarterback in the last game that they played, on my blanking now, it was not the Tennessee game, but the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
He got hurt. He got a concussion. And again, fans were crying. We talked about this in the last episode, which you can go back and check out. Anybody tuning in for the first time, go back to our archives, check that out. But again, the calls for Colin Kaepernick. Now, I'm just curious. I'm going to ask this again. Like, does this happen in other fan bases? Like, has this been going on for the last couple of years, with Colin Kaepernick being out? Because I don't recall it ever happening here before, and it just seemed so random. It's like, okay, so like Nate Sudfeld broke his wrist. Okay, in an ideal world, he's not seeing a snap. Like, why is everybody like losing their freaking minds and saying, "Oh, sign Colin Kaepernick"?
Well, actually, I think it's the opposite. Not everybody's losing their mind. There's a very vocal minority that is
right,
who are overshadowing people who just don't give a flip. And let's face it, when you don't care, you don't say anything. Yeah, you don't even go against it. You just don't care. I could care less about Colin Kaepernick. I think he's cooked. I think he's done. I think he's seen as a distraction at this point, and no one wants him. Whether they're willing to say it or not, I'd be willing to say it. I'd say I think he's a distraction. I want him in my locker room, period.
Well, apparently the Eagles did make a statement on it. They said that they did consider it, decided against it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's their prerogative as an organization.
Well, at this point, he's starting to get aged out of the league, too.
He's not been in the league in 3 years. And if you remember, his last year in the league...
He sucked.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, you don't have Jim Harbaugh as your coach anymore. You can't kiss your biceps, and you're not, the golden boy anymore. Now you're this completely political-looking figure who barely has even mentioned the word football in forever. So, even if you are good at your new craft, I just have this weird feeling that football isn't really your passion anymore.
Right. And when I look at him and pick out all your political opinions, because I know you and I, we're known for having some political opinions.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just all about, in his role, you don't want to spark any kind of conversation. In a backup quarterback's role, because that's what he'd be if he got signed in this league now.
Right.
You don't want to be sparking conversation. You don't want to bring a distraction to your locker room.
I personally lost a lot of faith in him when he wore the pig socks.
Well, yeah, that
was kind of it for me. That wasn't just you're stating how you feel. To me, that was complete immaturity. And I'm like, so not only do I not want your politics on the field, I don't trust your leadership anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that's what that did for me.
I completely agree. It's just, to me, there's no sense really talking about it, and I kind of hate that now we've talked about him in 2 straight episodes.
Well, look, I mean, he's relevant to me because he's relevant to me in the form of, here's what you don't do if you want to have an NFL career.
Yeah, he's a cautionary tale.
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, oh, he stood up for this or whatnot. When I saw him and he's relevant right now because him and Eric Reed talking trash about Jay-Z's deal with the NFL.
Right.
Right. And
why do they care about Jay-Z in the NFL?
Right. Well, they look at him as like, oh, a sellout. Now you're going to be sitting all with these guys laughing and having lunch instead of being against him. I was like, no, what he did was he saw an opportunity to take what y'all had already done and now be in the room to address it personally on a normal day-to-day or week-to-week basis. Whereas you guys are very black and white. If you don't not on our side, you're our enemy. And I just think there is no, there's only a couple of people in this world who've ever thought like that. Fidel Castro's, people who are dictators who deal in absolutes. Well, there's no progress in absolutes unless you go to war. Well, you're not going to win a war against the NFL. You're just not.
Yeah. A great line from a movie that the NFL probably was not happy that came out, but from the movie Concussion is that this organization took an entire day away. They took Sundays from the church. You know how powerful you have to be to do something like that?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the NFL in a lot of ways, especially with the fact that year over year they're doing better. Like they're just not really. Now they're going to have a down or a part year at some point.
Sure.
It's not going to make us go, oh, now they're totally declining. No, it's going to make us go, they peaked out. They grew for so long, they finally hit a peak. And that peak is so high that it's miles above the closest sport. So it's not like, oh, man, y'all must not be doing well anymore. It's going to be more of a, you did so good, it eventually had to come to some kind of halt. It couldn't keep going higher at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? Where the NFL was smart was they saw a decline in the ratings, and they wanted to figure out why. And so they pulled. And one of the things that, was said was the whole politicizing, in politics in football was not very popular among the audience. And so they did everything they could to eliminate that. So, they don't show the national anthem. They don't air these guys, and they make a rule where, look, either you can choose to sit in the locker room if you want, or if you come out, you have to be respectful of the flag. And I don't have a problem with that. It gives them an option. You want to make a statement, you're free to do so by staying in the locker room.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, me and you don't really have a lot of differences on this. To me, you either are an asset or a liability to the NFL. There's a reason why no matter what your contract is, somewhere in there it says you're detrimental to the league. And it's in every contract
that language purposely. Yes.
It's in every contract. Doesn't matter. It's for every quarterback. Doesn't matter you're white, black, orange, green. It's in your contract somewhere.
Yeah, no doubt.
The shield is bigger than a player. Jerry
and always has been and always needs to be.
Yeah, and getting to some of the holdouts right now. Let's lean into that since it's still going on. Jerry Jones made 2 statements this week. Obviously, Ziku, and he also no one's going to basically hold our team hostage. And he's basically saying, look, anytime Jerry Jones all of a sudden is in front of the mic a lot, he's doing it because he's saying, I don't need to directly tell you. Let me put it out there. I think at this point.
Well, now he's playing the media game to get.
Yeah, and when Jalen Smith getting signed now, I think what he has said is, when you work with me in good faith, I'm going to get you signed, and I'm going to get you a big contract. And he's also going, this is a guy who was a lifelong Cowboy or wanted to be a Cowboy his entire life. Yeah. He came back from injuries in order to be the player he is, and he's saying, I will reward that loyalty. And he's also, I think he's saying, the more I sign other players, the less money there is to give you in the very end.
Yeah, because he can always come to him. Hey, look.
He can say, look at the math.
Left.
Yeah, it's real now. You waited so long, you outmathed yourself.
And now that deal that we originally were going to offer you, now we can't, so it's got to be less than that.
Yeah, and I also think, Jerry, what he's doing is he's playing a little bit of you're starting not to look good in the public eye. Whereas the Cowboys as an organization are saying, hey, we have a season to get ready. We got 51 other guys that we got to pay attention to. We got to move forward. And that's every team in the NFL. And I think it's when you take the Antonio Brown, all these things, all these individuals holding out and wanting their end and whatnot, everybody's going, yeah, but in the meantime, we got a team to get ready for a regular season.
Right. And that's what most coaches and I know people call that coach speak, but it's the truth. Like when they go to the coaches and say, well, what do you have to say about this guy? Well, I'm going to address the guys that are in my locker room. Exactly. The guys that are here, we're going to get them ready to play. And that's the right approach because, look, you can only control what you can control. And these coaches, they devote so many hours of every day to their craft. They can't be worried about somebody who's not even in their building.
Yeah.
You got to get your team ready. And does Jason Garrett think that he's going to, at the end of the season, be able to go to Jerry Jones if this team disappoints and say, hey, I know we didn't have a great record this year, but gosh, we had the distraction with Ezekiel Elliott and the Dak Prescott contract. We had all these distractions. I deserve it. No. Jerry Jones is going to say, yeah, well, you know what? Your record was 7-9. That's not good enough. See you. Bye.
Well, I would say to that, Jason Garrett, who?
I like how we came full circle there.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, dead man walking. That's the way I look at Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
Now, if he went to Super Bowl, I kind of look at it like
you'll be the biggest fan of the redhead clapper.
I won't. No, I'll give him one more year. I'll wait for the year he fails and go, I told you, get rid of him. But I'm dirty like that. So
I really think there's some fans in Philadelphia who are waiting for that for Doug Peterson the first year now after the Super Bowl of them, not being in the playoffs to be like, oh, see, he's a bum. He peaked early and now he's done. Get him out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still run into people still debating the Foles Wentz thing. Even here where I live, it's still debated here.
That's so silly.
And it is. It is. Now, I always offer a different argument. Mm-hmm. Who will be more revered in Philadelphia? I'm like, Nick Foles.
Well, clearly.
Who's the better choice? Always Carson. Now, Carson Wentz picks up 2 Super Bowls. Cool. But he's got to get one more than Nick Foles had.
But Nick Foles, I think, will probably always be even more revered because he got the first.
Well, not only that, Nick Foles, to me, the way I look at Nick Foles is, well, put a statue next to Rocky. Because that's kind of what he was, moment for y'all.
Right. I mean, he was.
Underachiever overachieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Wentz is, no, dude, you're not the underachiever. You're not the little train that could. You're the train that's supposed to.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Different.
That's not really, I really feel like that's kind of where, this fan base in Philadelphia, they identify with that, that Rocky Balboa attitude, not only because of the movie, but if you look at this area, if you go up and down the I-95 corridor, Like you've got Washington D.C., the capital of the country, and then you go north and you have New York, which is the entertainment capital of at least the East Coast. And so, like, you have those two cities both within reasonable driving distance of Philadelphia, within 2 hours each of them. You could be in either one of those cities, and like, and then you look at Philadelphia, and it's like they're kind of always kind of considered the redheaded stepchild of the group, and it's a mindset that a lot of Philadelphians carry with them. And it's funny, I see it every day, and like, I mean, I don't get it. I work my job, I do, I make my living, I don't worry about like all that stuff. But like, I mean, and as a fan, like whenever New York does anything, it's so celebrated. Like the Yankees and their 26 World Championships and all that hot garbage. Um, Washington area, which I mean, the Washington area sports hasn't been good in a while, but the Capitals win the Stanley Cup. The Redskins haven't been good since George Herbert Walker Bush was president. But you still had to, like, it was another one of those examples of Philadelphia had to hear constantly how, oh, you guys never won a championship. You never won. Like, they were always just kind of the afterthought. They were pushed to the background in the sports world. And as a fan, it's easier to grasp to somebody like a Nick Foles, third round draft pick, was not expected to do squat. Comes in here, all he does is win in his first year and a half. He gets the job and throws 27 touchdowns and two interceptions in his rookie year. Or, well, actually, it's second year, because rookie year, he ended up playing a handful of games, but it really didn't matter much for the Eagles. But his second year was when he had the 27 and 2. And, the next season, he's handed the starting job, gets hurt, breaks his collarbone in Houston. And then the team, before he can come back, they trade him, and he disappoints with the Rams, comes back here, nothing expected, and wins the Super Bowl. It really is like a Rocky Balboa story. And if you look at the original Rocky Balboa story, Apollo Creed was supposed to fight somebody else. That guy gets hurt, pulls out, and who do they bring in? Rocky Balboa to fight him. So Carson Wentz maybe plays that role of that other fighter.
Well, I mean, and that's a really good story. Look, I think everybody, I don't know anybody who doesn't love somebody who comes back from being down, or this is a no-name, there's a lot of heart, not a lot of talent, but pushes their way with all the heart to get through something. Obviously, in the NFL, to me, that's a college story. In the NFL, that's a rarity, right?
Right.
I mean, you got a lot of walk-ons in college, end up being good players and stuff like that.
It's kind of what he reminds me of, the college walk-on. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to the NFL, you start going, you might be able to go back to like the 80s and the 70s when that was more like of a story. But nowadays, because of the system and the way it works, and there's a protocol to where everything goes, that's a rarity. And that's why I think, Nick Foles, even from somebody who lives where I live, we can all respect what he did. And a lot of us can look at that and say, we would all like the Cinderella story. I mean, for God's sakes, we had Tony Romo.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to be our Cinderella story.
And Tony Romo, had he succeeded, had he won championships, absolutely would have been your Cinderella story. He would have been your Nick Foles.
Yeah, even if he had just won, just a single Super Bowl, we still would have said,
oh, sure.
Who would have thought the third stringer that Bill Parcells yanked off a bench one day was going to be that good?
Yeah, the undrafted free agent,
The Cowboys seem to have this thing with getting like really high-low, that makes a lot of sense, really far out picks and drafts for quarterbacks. And then one day we put them in, we're like, oh, we get to pay you practically nothing. You're decent. Well, go ahead and start for us. Yeah, and I heard a good argument.
Dak Prescott was kind of like another Tony Romo.
I heard a good argument where someone was talking about that, starting to treat quarterbacks like running backs, where you just keep plugging them in until one day you spot the talent and you get them at a low amount. And they said
it's funny because I heard John Elway talking about it, where he was talking about what he was going to do at the quarterback position. And now, granted, he has job security because he's practically God in Denver.
Yeah,
but he said we're going to keep swinging at quarterbacks till we hit one.
Yeah, and the thing with that is, I look at that and I say, it's really funny. First of all, John Elway, after Manning, has been a flop with quarterbacks, which has been very interesting to me to say. out of all the people that should be a little bit of a quarterback whisperer, you're not doing such a good job.
Yeah. I know. Brock Osweiler was supposed to be his guy, and of course, you know how much a hot garbage he is.
Yeah, and the problem I have with Brock Osweiler was I just couldn't see him. He was so tall. I only saw him on the field from neck down. The dude was like 7'4" or something.
Well, I mean, considering he could reach up, standing just flat on the field, reach up and hand somebody some nachos in the upper deck. Yeah, because he was so tall. That was.
I'll tell you what, though, I forgot he got like $72 million guaranteed from the Texans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how much he sucks in this world now. He's rich for the rest of his life.
The Texans traded a second-round pick to the Cleveland Browns just so they would take him. Like, they didn't get a second-round pick in exchange for Brock Osweiler. No, they sent Brock Osweiler and a second-round pick to Cleveland for a hearty handshake.
So freaking true. And, on top of that, obviously the Texans being close to them and whatnot, I thought Osweiler was going to actually, I was on the fence of, I thought he would be a good quarterback. I really did. But I'm also a big proponent of with the Texans, let's talk about preseason teams right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think the current coach of the Texans is who takes them where they need to be. I just don't. I think it's time to pass.
It should be on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, you had one of the best defenses there is. Yeah. And you have Hopkins and Watson. All you need to do is kind of plug in one more like really decent receiver. And although we have one, but I'm saying something a little better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. But he took so long to lock down a decent quarterback that I'm like, dude, you were the offensive coordinator for the freaking Patriots.
Yeah.
How did you not know that having – and I know it's easy to say, oh, you need to have the right quarterback. But no, specifically a guy who coached Tom Brady.
Right.
I'm like, you of all people should know you can't dilly-dally and do the back and forth with who are the two quarterbacks they traded out back and forth?
Yeah. Was it Kate? It was Case Keenum, wasn't it?
Or whatever.
Case Keenum and Brian Hoyer, right?
Yeah, and I thought right away, keep Keenum in. Like, stop. Yeah. Anytime you have to alternate quarterbacks, you're not winning a freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, dead on arrival.
Saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
Yeah, you're dead on arrival. Like Nick Foles and Wentz, one took over when the other went down. They weren't stopping during the freaking season.
Right. There was never like Carson Wentz threw three incompletions. Well, we better get Nick Foles in there.
Speaking of which, what do you think? And I think this is overhyped, but the rumor, not the rumor, but people talking about and making rumors out of even further than they should be, Garoppolo throwing 5 back-to-back interceptions during practice, and then during the preseason, I think he threw 2.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, everybody's freaking out. I'm like, it's preseason. Like, if you're this is where you make mistakes and don't care.
Yeah, that's true. You're just trying to work on some things. Look, there was a lot of coachable moments there, and Jimmy Garoppolo is a talented young man. We've seen what he could do in New England, and we saw what he was doing for part of the year last year in San Francisco before he got hurt.
Right.
I think that he can be just fine. These are opportunities for him to grow, opportunities for him to learn.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask a different question. Are the Eagles getting ready to play their third preseason game, which I guess everybody is this week. But once again, it looks like that Carson Wentz and a number of starters for the Eagles will not play. This was typically, in years past, the third preseason game is supposed to be your dress rehearsal game where everybody, you kind of game plan a little bit.
Yeah, it usually goes, they don't play the first 2 games. They play the first half of they play the first quarter of the third game and then a full half in the fourth game usually.
Well, actually, what it's typically is the third game is actually considered the dress rehearsal. That's when they usually play the half. And in the past, even some into the third quarter. In the fourth game, nobody played.
Okay, well, your need to be right is sounding a lot like my girlfriend.
Which, for more on that, you should check out Life Coach Landry. See?
If you're having dating difficulties, search YouTube for lifecoachlandry.com. This is a commercial. Back to the show. I'm back.
All right. I hope everybody enjoyed their commercial break.
Exactly.
But I wonder if like they need to shake any rust on. They're saying he's practicing every day. They had joint practices with the Ravens all week, and which I guess everybody is. I think having joint practices with whoever their third opponent is.
Right.
But I just wonder if guys need that game time.
Oh yes,
I really don't want to get Carson Wentz hurt, but you can't play afraid to get hurt.
Yeah. I'm on the fence, right? Because
we've talked about this where you're like you don't think you have to play in the preseason, but if it's at the end of the regular season,
yeah, I want you in full stride. I don't want you missing gaps where you lose your momentum as a player.
Right.
Is what I care about. And I'm a big believer in time off is time rust. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's a week or, even when people get buys, I'm always like shaky, like, okay, what are the Cowboys going to look like when they come back with their buys? They get a little too relaxed and someone comes out and smashes them in the mouth in the first quarter and they're like, well, shit, now we can't catch up to them. We'll play better in the next game. And I'm like, that's that rust I don't like to see. And the Cowboys, and I'll get to your Eagles, but the Cowboys in particular, to me, are horrible teams to let have rest. Cowboys is a horrible team to rest. I can say it. I would rather them not be allowed to have a bye. I wouldn't care.
Can we forfeit the bye and just play anyway?
I wouldn't care. I'd be like, dude, bring the freaking Houston Roughnecks up here. Keep them going.
Just to keep them fresh.
Yeah. But when it comes to the Eagles, I can see some caution around Wentz, but to me, everybody else, at least in game 4, should play a half, in my opinion.
Okay. Now
I'm a game 4 guy. I think the first three games are really for the other guys, see if they're going to make the team.
Well, and I know, again, this kind of plays into your rest versus rust, but it's been popular opinion that the 4th game nobody plays because we're not trying to get anybody hurt a week or we can change away from the season starting.
Right.
I can understand. I would compromise. You say at least a half. They say not at all. I would compromise and play in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And say, like, that would kind of be my thought process. Like, get them out there, get your legs loose, get everything, get all the blood flowing, get a couple hits in you, and then go hit the showers.
That sounds kind of sexual.
Well, hey, look.
About football.
What grown men do behind closed doors is none of my business.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I felt like you were going a different direction with our program here.
Well, again, if you want more information on that, see how you like that. Last show, and I'm going to do it again tonight. I plugged all of my stuff that I do. Tonight, I'm making sure to give some extra plugs to Life Coach Landry.
That's right. Right now I have 64 to 70,000 subscribers. I have to go look. I haven't looked at my number in a while. Awesome. But I got a good amount of numbers. And the thing is, I tell people, when it comes to YouTube and getting on there and trying to do something, if you stick to it and you put out quality content, there's over 7.5 billion people on this world, and YouTube is a global website. There are people out there, no matter what you're talking about. If I say, hey, I have one left red shoe, I'm going to find a following who likes left red shoes.
I'm all about the left red shoe.
Yeah. And I did have a pair of all red Nikes. All they had is a white Nike check on them, but the entire shoe, rubber, everything was red. And when I was in middle school, and I swear they looked like I was wearing Ronald McDonald shoes. Yeah. And I love McDonald's, so I had no shame.
Oh yeah, you rocked it. You owned it.
I'm a McDonald's guy. It doesn't matter if somebody tells me, oh man, you don't want to eat that because of this, or I watch some documentary on this. I'm like, oh man, I need to give them more money so they can make changes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I go a different route. I find positive routes to support what I want.
It's the power of positivity, baby.
That's right. So moving on, what do you think? What do you think about the Antonio? I think he suited up and practiced yesterday.
Right.
Right.
I'm very grateful for because this past weekend I had my first fantasy football draft, and in the 4th round, I grabbed Antonio Brown.
Now, my girlfriend and I have been watching Hard Knocks, right? Mm-hmm. So it's fun to have a woman's outsider perspective on what she sees and whatnot. She saw his feet, and she thought that looked pretty bad. She looked at that and said, "Man, I wouldn't want to play on that until that's fully healed." How do you feel about that? Do you feel like, dude, you do that to yourself? You still got to be on the field, like at least doing warm-ups and stuff like that, at least? Or are you kind of like, dude, stay off those feet until those are completely healed?
I think what you do is you go to the team trainers and let them make the decisions on whether or not you should be out there. And if they say you've hurt yourself, you shouldn't be out there, you don't go. You don't go out there. You don't go out there until you can help your team.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see that. I think my whole deal with Antonio is either you're losing passion for football, and this is really about, well, I want to get that 30 million, and this will be like kind of like my last stride, or this is my real opinion. I think he wanted to find a way of how to do it, being in too many workouts and whatnot before the actual season starts. Now, that's not to say Antonio Brown isn't a hard worker. I mean, this guy, I heard, is one of the best guys when it comes to workout regimen out of anybody there is. But I think he didn't want to have to do it with a team. I think he's like, hey, I'm fine doing it on my own. I don't want to have to go through all this crap, hear stuff from coaches, tell me what to do. I don't think he wanted to deal with that in the end of the season. I think he just wants to be there week 1 and go. That's my opinion.
Could be. I also think that there's a part of him that maybe is now looking at football not as far as like that he loves it, that he wants to be a football player. He wants to make millions and be a star in the NFL. And I wonder if it's all about the passion of loving the game. Because I always pay attention to that. Like, I listened to a guy talk about I'm a pro wrestling fan. Check out my Tables, Ladders, and Chairs podcast. But
I feel like I need one of those fold-up lawn chairs when you say it. Just go douche on the floor and be like, ladders and chairs. You need to watch it.
But like there's a party like they always talk about in WWE. They call those guys WWE superstars, and I always pay attention to the guys who say they want to be a WWE superstar, and those that say they want to be a pro wrestler. Those that say they want to be a pro wrestler are there because they love that. That's their passion. That's what they want to do. Like, they get paid to travel. They wrestle for free. Like I heard a guy say that. But that's the way he looked at it. He gets paid to travel and spend time away from his family. He wrestles for free. And so I look at that the same way in the NFL. Like, a guy, like some guys want to be superstars. Some guys just want to be football players. And to me, like, that's the different mentality. The guy who, like Peyton Manning, was a football player. Like, I mean, granted, his success and his marketability made him a superstar, but strip that all away, he's a football player. Yeah. The same thing with like a Tom Brady, and we could go on and on. Antonio Brown, I'm thinking, he's a guy who he wants to be a superstar.
I think Antonio Brown, I think part of what his problem is, he can't stand that the quarterback is like the guy. I think it really bothers him. I think he has a complex with why are the coach and the quarterback able to dictate so much over the entire team? Why don't I have that same amount of input? I'm just as important. And I'm like, no, you're not, because all you have to do is be you. A quarterback has to know what everybody else is doing.
Right.
And, I think that really bothers him. I do. I really think he has an ego trip over, I think, in fact, I hate to say it, but I think he'd do better on a team where they have a Blake Bortles and he's it. I think he'd be happier.
And maybe this is kind of like Derek Carr. I don't know where your feelings are on him. I think the jury's still. He had one really good year, and he got hurt.
I mean, when you cry when your legs broke. Yeah, so. No, I'm kidding. Made me cough. I laughed so much inside. I think that after watching Hard Knocks, I think I like David Carr a little better.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd give him probably 2 more years. Mm-hmm. If this year he looks really bad, I would start thinking about the future and hold on to him and see if he comes out of it. If he's decent this year, and I was at World of Beer the other day, and I met a couple from the husband was from Boston and the wife was from here. And I shit you not, the woman named her kid Brady because of Tom Brady. Shit you not. And
oh God.
And they were a great couple, but in talking to them, it was good to hear someone say something. We were talking about Dak. He's like, "How you feeling about Dak and the situation and everything?" And I said, "If we don't have Dak, who do we have?" And I think people forget, even though Dak might be a third tier or barely a second tier quarterback, who else is there for us to go get? So you do have to sign this guy at some point because they're not hanging off trees. Look at how many teams typically go through quarterbacks until they find one, not that it's just a good quarterback, but that actually fits their system.
And it's funny, to replace a quarterback, I feel like the bottom has to drop out. It's got to be so bad that you look at it and say, we can't justify bringing him back.
I thought the Jaguars replacing Blake Bortles was that. They just couldn't get over the hump. They had X amount of years. It was time for a change.
And I think the same thing should happen in Cincinnati. Like, I think that Andy Dalton, he's got...
From Katy, Texas? What?
I knew that would strike a nerve with you.
Oh.
I feel like he's gotten so many chances and coming up so small with them.
No, I kind of agree. I think he's a good quarterback. I think at this point he's looking more like he's going to be a permanent backup somewhere after the Bengals. He's got enough money to where he shouldn't be hurt. He's not going to be hurting about money or anything anymore.
Oh, no, he'll be fine. He's
a good guy. He's religious from what I know about him and can tell. So I think he's one of those wherever God takes me is where I'm supposed to be kind of guy. So I don't think he's going to be like bitter or anything once his time's up in Cincinnati. My opinion,
Yeah, no, I doubt he'd be bitter either. He comes across. Look, I have no hatred of Andy Dalton. I have no reason.
Oh yeah, you do. You're a hateful person.
A little bit. Like, I mean, look, it's the ginger, it's the red hair thing. It just they don't have souls, and so that's a problem.
Yeah, true.
But so Andy Dalton.
Offense to your partner Ryan when he said that.
Oh yeah, there was plenty of offense meant towards Ryan.
Okay, just making sure.
Oh, absolutely no. He hates it too when I call him Ginger. Like, he gets angry. Like,
but when I watch, when y'all do your show, the Football Philly Smack Show. For those who don't know about it, it's on Facebook. Go look it up. When y'all do your show, I see little glitters above him. So he is Ginger. He's Magic Ginger.
Well, that's him trying to take other people's souls because he doesn't have them.
That would explain why you haven't been as nice lately.
Exactly. See,
you're losing. He's sucking you dry.
He's trying. But, I have to put out a lot of resistance to it.
So we covered Antonio Brown. We've re-talked about the Cowboys again.
We even mentioned the Eagles a little bit.
So preseason games that I've watched so far, I thought Minnesota looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've been impressed with them.
I thought Minnesota looks like they got their defense kind of like tightened up what they're trying to do. Granted, there's no major scheming or anything going on. The guys look physical. I'm seeing some passion. Looks like they're ready to play ball.
But to me, I think you can tell a lot from this, but just the physicality, along the lines, because there's not a whole lot of scheming there. It's you impose your will to the other guy. Right. And so I always look at who wins the line of scrimmage in a preseason game. That really tells me more than the final score, what was going on in the game. Yeah. Because that's just a lot of that is just line up, hat on a hat, and let's go.
Oh, no, that's true. And, the thing with that is a lot of people think preseason's a wash. I'm one of them. I'm not really – I don't find preseason, ultra entertaining.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, this is where the Tony Romos and the Daks and stuff have been developed. I think what it is every once in a while when you find the diamond in the rough, preseason's really worth it to you. I think when it's just a normal game with no real standouts, it's – man, can we hurry up and get to games that count already?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, man, watching my Eagles, the first week I was excited to see the game.
Yeah.
By last week, I was like, all right, screw this. Can I just get to the regular season?
This is why I will push it. Preseason should be a 2-game thing, and the season should be an 18-game season.
I 110% agree with you.
I think either do more joint practices or just do more practice squad instead of having preseason games.
And I think you expand the rosters.
Yeah.
Go from 53 to maybe 60 or something like that. Good round number.
Yeah, I like 64. When I did the math, about 64 would make sense with the salary cap going up. Excuse me. With the salary cap going up.
Yeah, and I would say the salary cap should go up significantly. Therefore, you can sign more people. You can give guys more money.
I would say the average player probably costs you $3 to $5 million. So I say for every player you add on to a roster, you add $5 million. So if it's 53 right now, and you add if you add 11 players, so 11 times 5, so you add $55 million to the cap.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just quick math. I mean, there could be some differences on, I don't know, something I'm not thinking about, but doing quick math, making even 60 million, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a roundabout where I kind of see it or whatnot. I mean, think about it. You're approaching what you could offer, a second-tier quarterback salary alone with just that increase. So I'm like, yeah, of course you can go get you some more corners and some more whatever. Right. Think about that. Think about the day if the salary cap was ever big enough that you could hold $120 million, $130 million quarterback and another like $60 to $70 million quarterback at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
You know what'll happen when that day comes? I'm going to be mad that day wasn't this year, so the Eagles could have kept Carson Wentz and Nick Foles.
Yeah. I think, you know what? Before we close out the show, we'll end on your Eagles note. If Carson Wentz doesn't even, what if y'all don't even, and I think you're going to make playoffs. I think you guys are going to own the championship this year. My team's got too much drama going on. Mm-hmm. Do you think if Carson Wentz, what if y'all didn't reach the playoff this year? Do you think half the fan base would be like letting go of Nick Foles is the reason? Or do you think they would just look at it as Carson Wentz was working his way back in from injuries? We're trying to get our chemistry back set up. We'll get there next season. Of course, that's going to be what you have to do. But I'm saying, what do you think people would feel?
Me, what I'll say is, depending on how it happens that way, I'll say, you know what, this team needed, maybe they just needed a wake-up call that you can't just show up and be great. And not that I think that's what they're doing, but it's going to be Carson Wentz got to knock the rust off. He'll be able to really go into a full off season 100%. And that, to me, that's almost more important. In that scenario, if they don't make the playoffs, just let me have Carson Wentz healthy at the end of the season so he can go into the off season and go through all the
time again. You guys need to just put Carson Wentz in a cryo-freeze tube underneath the stadium until playoff time, and then unfreeze him and bring him out. The only thing I worry about,
we'll just put him where the old jail was. It'll be fine.
Exactly. The only thing I worry about that is I hope he doesn't come out with Antonio Brown feet.
Oh yeah, he's got to make sure to wear the right shoes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was actually going to go eat right before, and then I forgot we had this show, and I was like, oh, I was actually going to be gone, and then I remember to come back and jump on for the show.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Go get some Whataburger for me.
Yeah, I'm going to. But let's end on Baker Mayfield's statement about if you weren't a winner in college, you're a loser. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't go. I don't buy into that. That's one of those Baker Mayfield's just being Baker Mayfield.
Well, so let's put it in perspective.
Yeah.
So that would make Patrick Mahomes a loser.
Sure.
Because he lost more than he won in college.
Okay.
So if we're going to go by Baker Mayfield's new standard, and he was referencing the Giants quarterback, why they went and got that quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And even if he's misquoted, let's just take what he said and let's just do it, from a straight black and white factual standpoint of the statement itself.
Sure.
So if you take what he said and you go by kind of like the way he feels about it, so if this year he doesn't have a winning record, he's a loser by his own account.
Yeah, I mean,
is he going to own that? Is he going to say, we need to do better, or is he going to go, I'm an effing loser?
I think there's a chance he would come out and say that. But
I think he would do it for shock value. I don't think he'd really feel like that.
You're right. What he might say is, I was an effing loser, but he's going to work hard to make sure he's not a loser in the future.
Yeah, or it's going to be, I'm a freaking loser with a beer can. Yeah.
I think that would be the appropriate way to go.
Yeah.
But before we get on out of here, I want to plug something for the show, the Football Smack Talk show. We've got this Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 Central. We are doing the Eagles Roundtable number 3. We've done 2 so far this year. It's at the bar Champs in Collegeville, PA. Anybody watching out there, if you live in the Philadelphia area, if you want to come out and be a part of that show, it's going to be a good time. They're going to have drink specials. Come hang with the whole cast and crew there. I was going to see if maybe you would want to jump in as a live guest.
Sure.
Yeah.
For the viewers out there, even if you're not a Philly fan, we're
going to be talking about other teams.
Yeah,
too.
it's a Philly show predominantly in nature, but as far as the topics they cover, it's a lot like this show. They cover a lot of stuff, and whatnot. And these two together, Ryan and Eric, are pretty entertaining to watch. They're polar opposites in their approaches, which always makes interesting. Whereas me and Eric are just both talkers, so we can pretty much be on anything. You could put on a show about knitting dresses, and we'd probably find a controversy in there to discuss.
Oh man, that weave that she put in, that one lady put in the red dress. Oh,
yeah,
full of controversy.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: the last time me and Eric talked about dresses, he was wearing a blue stained dress. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow, and if you get that reference, you're old.
You're a loser according to Baker Mayfield standards.
Yeah. If you get that reference, you're a loser.
You're a loser. But if you know what the dress is with a stain, you're a freaking winner.
That's right.
America. All right, man.
Hey, everybody. Happy football. And dude, think about it. We've got 15 days till NFL football.
That's right. September, my birthday month, football month. Time to rock.
Have a good night. See you next week, guys.
Bye.